what's up everybody? Welcome back to another 3D Hangouts, episode 185, PCBs, paper, and grippers.
That's right. This week we're going to be taking a look at Papercraft. Blinka.
Yep. Well, where's her head? Yeah, all this and more on, you guessed it,
3D Hangouts.
Run the intro.
Excellent.
Almost had an audio disaster. Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to another 3D Hangouts. My name is Noah Ruiz. I'm a designer here at Adafruit, and joining me every week is my Dino Foot coffee drinking brother.
What's going on, everybody? I'm Pedro Rose, Creative Tech here at Adafruit, and every week we come to share a 3D printed project featuring electronics from Adafruit.
That's right, this is where we combine 3D things. I almost said 3D printing. Mostly 3D printing, but sometimes paper.
You know, we did a good thing about naming the show 3D Hangouts because it's always going to involve 3D modeling and CAD, no matter what the medium or material that we're using. So
yeah, maybe we're cutting stuff, maybe we're printing stuff. It's all good here. So welcome back, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. We're live streaming on a lot of different networks. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Say hello in the chat rooms. We'll hanging out there. Let's go ahead and get started with the paying bills stuff and helping y'all out with a coupon code this week. Today's coupon code is ENDMIL. This will get you 10% off your order.
Works on everything except subscriptions and gift certificates.
That's right. Those two limits are this good. Sorry, I forgot what I was going to say. Something about restrictions. So you can go to adafruit.com/free and see all the free deals that we got going on. Here's a little picture. It shows you the cool things you can get. I think it's $99. You can get a Perma Proto for $199. You get free UPS ground shipping for the US. And for $299, I believe, it is a Circuit Playground Perma Proto and the free UPS shipping. So check out adafruit.com/free for those deals.
While supplies last.
While supplies last, because they're going quick. We also have same-day delivery for fine folks here in New York City. Not here. Here's West Palm. Over there is New York. But over there in New York, they have the same-day delivery option, which is really good. We have some newsletter stuff. adafruitdaily.com. Check that out for daily newsletter stuff. You can see different categories like 3D printing, biotech, maker business, and more. CircuitPython is another one. We have the new newsletter, adafruit.com/newsletter to see that. It's a weekly product-focused newsletter that goes directly to your inbox if you opt in. So go to adafruit.com/newsletter for that. Yeah. Hanging out in the Discord chat room. Quick reminder, we do a CircuitPython meeting every Monday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. So you want to hear the devs and other people from the community working on cool stuff on CircuitPython. Check out the CircuitPython meeting in the CircuitPython chat channel of the Adafruit Discord server.
It's sort of like a mini show and tell when it comes around to the what are you working on section, so you can definitely join in. Yeah. Audio and talk about what project you're working on, maybe even get some tips and help from the CircuitPython community.
That's right.
Every week.
That's right.
Go ahead and jump into
Oh, it's
this
also public on
week's...
YouTube. Hold on. It's also public on YouTube. So check it out.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll do a playlist for it if there's not one already. So hello everybody in the chat room. How is everybody doing? Hope you guys are doing nice on this Wednesday morning. Today's project, if you haven't already, check it out on the YouTube channel, adafruit.com. youtube.com/Adafruit. You can see the latest project videos that we have this week. What do you?
Just looking at your mic. Somebody said it is cutting in and out, and it kind of sounds like it is cutting in and out.
Really?
Oh, it's the position of your mic. You need to move it. You can't have it down.
It's too late. Well, I'll just try to be very, very still. Is that better? Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another.
Hold on.
Hey, oh, because there's a delay. Audio. Why is audio the one thing that's always difficult to do on live shows? Is audio.
You gotta flip it, dude.
All right. Well, Paige is going to talk for a little bit while I mute my mic and flip it around. Ready?
Let's go ahead and if you just want to go over the overhead, I can just quickly do a quick overview of this week's project. It is CNC dual-sided PCBs specifically for the Circuit Playground Express. So while prototyping with alligator clips is a really nice, quick way to get your project going, it's not always the most stable. So as we were prototyping things, when we were putting alligator clips on, it would be a little bit difficult to have them stay on. We would have like connections touching. So I asked Noah, inspiration by David Estelle, who had a very cool PCB design for the Circuit Playground Express. We wanted to mill one out using our Bantam's tool CNC machine, and this is what you came up with. Walk us through your design process and all that before designing this really simple but very useful little PCB for the back here.
Hi everybody, we're going to do a quick mic test. Let's see if it sounds okay. It sounded like the connection was loose, says SDWNJ. Maybe, I'm not sure.
No, it was the position.
Okay, cool.
Really good.
All right, sweet. It sounds really good now. Thanks. Awesome. Yeah, so let's talk about this PCB. We showed this off a couple weeks ago, but we wanted to do a full guide and project video on it. So Pedro talked about kind of the main concept behind it, inspiration behind it, just getting a little bit more solid way to kind of prototype onto the Circuit Playground. Alligator clips are really nice and quick and easy, but sometimes you've got so many of them, you really need to kind of...
So specifically for my project, for the grippers that we were working on, I always had those connections loosen or touching, so yeah. I think I actually burnt out one of the motors because of that. Because I wasn't able to see what I was doing. I was, playing with the code and trying to get all the values right, and didn't notice that wires were accidentally touching or they would come loose, disconnect. Even though they have that, the alligator clips have those protective sheathings on them, they can actually come off loose, and they can actually hurt your fingers as well.
They are hard. Yeah, they kind of... Okay, so that we still like alligator clips. Don't go anywhere, alligator clips.
Yes.
Still love you. So if you go on the Adafruit Learning System, you can see Blinka. You can see the guide. If you go to learn.adafruit.com, you can see our full write-up guide on this project. Sort of just looking at the process of double-sided milling using the Bantam tools. That's what you can see. Another cool thing I want to talk about was just the tools. I saw a lot of comments on YouTube talking about, not a lot, maybe one or two, comments on YouTube asking about what's the squeeze bottle and what's your silicone mat, and those tools are all listed in every guide that we do. That's why we list them. Also, just to kind of remind ourselves where we can get these things if we run out. So hardware as well, what kind of screws, what kind of standoffs you should use for the Circuit Playground, mail headers, the blue silicone mat that everybody seems to like, double-sided tape, all that stuff. Also a spatula palette knife. You know what a palette knife is, right? My favorite tool for prying things off beds, not just 3D printer beds, but also CNC spoil board. That is the one that I linked. Yeah, there's like a set for them. This is like one of our favorite tools. It's a very, very thin, narrow spatula. So meant for palette knifing, for like painting, for painters.
Yeah, the description for the size on all this got rubbed away, but you can actually check this out at many painting stores like Jerry's Artorama. So specifically like art stores will have these because these are actually used for painting. That's right. Yeah, it's like a palette, I guess, to like either scrape or like
a palette, like an easel or something.
Yeah. So definitely look for those. Super thin. The most use case for these so far have been for removing 3D print parts because they are so thin. You're able to get underneath your print very well. That's right. But for this,
yeah. So it worked out for prying out the PCBs from the spoil bed, because a lot of times if you don't use alcohol, let's say for example, your PCB can get bent. So I like using that with alcohol so I can get under the bed and get it, as you saw in the video, if you haven't already seen it. So talking about the PCB design itself, this kind of houses the, this just tells you a little bit about the design. You can download the EagleCAD file if you want to manufacture your own. Also upload it to OshPark as a shared project, so you can order it from OshPark directly if you'd like. It's a little bit different design in terms of like the silk screen. There's some nice graphics and stuff to it. We can probably take a look at it now if we want. So I uploaded the OshPark. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get it in yet. It comes next Monday, but it's still pretty cool.
That actually illustrates one of the biggest points.
I would say, yeah.
Especially if you wait 2 weeks to get here and oh no, it's been 2 weeks. Route this right. I forgot to bridge this.
No, this is final. This design is like final. It's ready to go.
You got to that point because you were able to quickly prototype this in under 5 minutes.
Under 5 minutes, it cut in 5 minutes. Yeah, the top layer. So yeah, it's double-sided, nice silk screen, purple, of course, beautifully purple. You can download the Gerber file or order the board from here directly, which is really nice. So shout out to Oshpark. You could also, I believe Dave Estell's also is selling it on Tindy, so you can check that out. Once I get the link, I'll put it in the guide as well, because I want people to check that out as well. So I talk about design considerations when you're designing a simple PCB, at least. For double-sided PCB milling, there's a lot of things to kind of consider. And Bantam Tools actually is a really good resource on their website, so I linked to them. So they have like a nice design rule checklist that you can check. It's just kind of some screenshots showing you specific software stuff, learning about clearances and how to get smaller tools and for more intricate designs, how to mill meat vias, how to deal with ground planes, trace width. All the stuff is all listed here, which is really, really nice and useful. They also have a DRC for Eagle, which is kind of like this this checker that you can, it kind of like validates whether your traces, it'll like go through and inspect all your traces and clearances and ensure that they check out really, which is cool. You can kind of design your own too, but they have theirs available, which is really nice. They also talk about double-sided milling, engraving. There's so many resources from the Bantam Tools website, so if you are an owner of this lovely machine, you can check it out. And yeah, some more complicated double-sided milling here with vias, so it's really cool, using thin wire to kind of thread it through the holes. Very, very cool. So going back up to the guide, we talk about the milling process. Nice little write-up telling you specifics, details. And then post-processing. I didn't get a chance to do my DIY solder mask, but I do have a tutorial and video on how to do that. I wanted to try doing the Dyna mask, which is a little bit different, but I didn't get around to it because we've got a lot of paper stuff going on. But have it here. Really want to shout out this design that Pedro put together a couple months ago. This little DIY 3D printed micro USB dock. It really works really well for propping up your dev boards, especially the Circuit Playground, and you just kind of connect it back here. So it's really cool. So as Pedro was talking, it is assembled with just a couple of these jam nuts, which are really thin nuts, and that way you can get this really, really low profile assembly.
So this is M3, 4mm long.
Yeah, screws.
Is it 4 or 6?
No, it's 4. And they're the button head type. The socket head type, they have the Allen head there. And those are really, really nice. They're so much better than the
So we
Phillips.
are actually converting all of our hardware's screws over to hex.
Yeah, and in the bottom here you have the just the same nuts. So it's a 2-nut process, but normally what you would do is you put a standoff here, but I really want it to be flush and thin, so you can just use those. You can just double up on the washers. Yeah, and to make it double-sided, of course, to connect the two, you have to kind of remove the plastic bit from the headers. But that worked out pretty well. Another note is there's quite a bit of rust on it. It's because it oxidizes, and it's not too bad. There's several ways to protect it. You can coat it with some Rust-Oleum, or you can use a UV curable solder mask like we were talking about. But for the most part, it still works. And so what if it gets oxidized? Yeah. Other thing I wanted to show was, I didn't get a chance to talk about in the video, was milling different clearances for the traces. So this is normally what you would get. This is the quickest way to mill, is to just mill the outline of the trace, right? You've seen this. Same thing with the back. But there's an option to do a bigger clearance trace. So you could basically say I want a 10mm clearance between the traces, and it'll mill away all of the excess copper and only leave behind the traces. This way you have less surface area, so maybe if this was a ground plane or something and your PCB needed to be flush up against it, or in this case the Circuit Playground, it would touch one of these pads and maybe bridge. If not, it didn't bridge in my case, but the only downside of doing this is it takes double the time to mill away every little piece of copper, but it's nice and naked and exposed, and it works pretty well. So I think I'll do this for the designs that need it. Last week we showed off a little capacitive touch add-on for the Circuit Playground, and that's where it definitely helped out to mill everything away but the traces. So it works really well. Yeah, so that's kind of a little update on our experimenting or our adventures in PCB milling with the Bantam tools, desktop CNC. So there you go. And I'll let you guys know what it looks like and how it works, how the Oshpark version works. It's the same way. It's just that, you know, purple and
won't oxidize.
It won't oxidize, yeah. So there you go. Yeah. And it's also an opportunity to kind of play with different shapes, different designs. Put a little face there, because why not? I had room, so I figured I'd play with that. Also, it's really important to get kind of how to understand how to get Fusion shapes out of Fusion into EagleCAD. And then making the library for this guy was definitely a good thing to do, because now we can go in and make custom shields for the Circuit Playground. Yeah.
As soon as Liz was saying, yeah, as you start adding smaller components, the custom PCB becomes very appealing.
Yeah, yeah. This was just an adapter, but once you start adding parts and stuff, then you get a real awesome thing. All right, now it's Panda's turn.
This will bleed right into what are we prototyping. So this is one of the gripper claws that we took off of Thingiverse. I want to give credit to. Yeah, so loaded there.
Yep.
This is Robot Gripper by
Yuri.
Yuri.
So Yuri put this together, and it's got quite a few makes, and there's so many different projects, gripper projects, servo gripper projects on Thingiverse. So it's really cool to get inspiration from the community and other designs and things. You can see that, and we saw this one. We're like, yeah, let's see how this one works out. So we printed this actually in breakaway support material because the geometry has a lot of overhangs. So it
let's see if I can grab this PCB. Can you hold it so I can grab it?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, so this was one of the things that we were prototyping for that. Unfortunately, this came a little bit late in the actual designing of the drone claw, mostly because there was a lot of work that I had to do in actually shielding light away from the Circuit Playground, since that is the primary way that you're activating the drone claw with the light, what's it called, the light pipe that we're using. Right. So what we're doing is swapping the controls for controlling the LEDs on the drone over to one of the controls on the pad, and that is connected to, actually I can just show it, just grab it, what it looks like. Showed this off last week, but it's a lot more polished and refined this week. So the way it's working is there's a little light cover right here. As soon as the LEDs turn on, it'll send over through the light pipe over to the Circuit Playground Express. That's what a lot of my time was spent on, making sure there was no light leaks so you weren't getting any false positives in terms of being out in full bright sunlight would activate this. So that's what a lot of time.
It's flying in the air and there's UV rays everywhere.
Yeah, so I tried, so you do have to use like a black pigment filament to block all that out. And then I have covers for all of the ports, but I'll show that off next week.
So those NinjaFlex plugs?
I had to use NinjaFlex plugs to get all of that out.
NinjaFlex plugs. They worked out.
But yeah, so I didn't have enough time to actually implement this claw on there. But we do. It is still gonna have a claw, just not this huge one on there.
Putting this claw in the air, there's a little bit of weight. There's a lot of screws, and
there's a lot of things that need to optimize for this to work properly, but works as a very nice demo to figure out where your rotations for all this are.
Your gears, the gears, off,
and the gear ratio as well. So it still works as a really good project for that. If you want to download this, did do some modifications just so they would fit the servo horns that come with our servos.
Yeah, they kind of vary if you're using the metal high torque one versus the regular plastic one.
Yeah, and the arms too are a little bit skinny, so I thickened those up. So I'll post those as a link if anybody wants to try these out. Would still make a really cool project. Yep,
and we're using MakeCode.
This is all MakeCode, yeah.
Using the beta USB web.
Yeah, that stuff is so awesome.
That's pretty nice.
Made prototyping a lot more quick. So since I don't know, I'm not really good with coding, so I was able to visually see what was going on and just mess around with the blocks to get it to actually perform the way I had thought of. skipping into some other stuff that we're prototyping. This is a really lovely Papercraft Blinka design by our very own Bruce Yan.
That's right.
He's our creative director at Adafruit. He does all of the artwork, all of the designs, all the packaging, all that lovely graphic work that you see. That's all Bruce. So
Bruce,
definitely give him a follow on Instagram.
Yeah, so if you go to the Adafruit blog, we actually have this posted up. It's sort of a beta. It's a beta. So you can get the PDF download here. There's a little link to it. And you can check it out and print it on your own 2D printer. So we're doing a lot of paper crafts. Tell me a little bit about this.
So this is
how you made what you used.
Yeah, so I used 2 sheets of paper. I am going to go back and try to print this on one sheet, just double print it. And then just regular scissors to cut this out. Nice little path. If you check out the PDF, you have all the instructions. They're super easy to put together.
Yeah.
And
this is a great little add-on for mechanical projects or just kind of your general paper crafty type project. So it's really fun. So this led us into...
Yeah, so as I was cutting all of this out, I saw just how, time-consuming and how I can mess up, especially with going all over the curves. We've been wanting to get a cutter for quite a while, and
cutting machine.
We're just like, hey, just go pick one up so you can, sort of prototype these a lot more faster to get, focus on the actual design of all this. So we went over and picked up a Cricut Explorer Air 2. That's
right. So one of the cool things about these machines is they're kind of all over the place. You can pick one up from Walmart. It's a supermarket here in the States. Or Amazon. There's lots of sales going on, but these machines are pretty robust. So the first thing we had to do is, of course, set up the workspace. So we have a nice little shelf cleaned out because it is a fairly large machine. It can do a 12 by 12 inch workspace for metric. That's 300 by 300 millimeters. So it's pretty big. It's pretty big. So you can do all sorts of different materials. This version can cut. It has a dual head. The other head is for drawing. So you can scoring, which is really great when you're designing box templates. The first thing we did was we of course cut out the CircuitPython logo. So there's Blinka, and it's sporting the CircuitPython name. The next thing, Pedro put together this template of this box, this foldable box that you can cut out. It's a one piece that kind of folds up together. So that right away we had projects to go and to cut right away. So this one is doing the dotted line perforations, which you could also score as well. So just right away out of the box, it works. There was no calibration required. The way it works is you have like this sticky mat where you adhere the paper or whatever material you're working with, and then it cuts it out, and then it de-sticks because it's not that sticky. And there's different sticky mats with different levels of stickness to it. But it doesn't just cut paper. It could also cut vinyl. It can cut sticker paper. It can cut cardstock. It can also cut leather and other fabrics as well. So it's actually kind of a robust little machine. Well, it's kind of a big machine. And just kind of learning how to. That was not a good thing to do there. Don't use that. Use a palette knife. So that was a lot of fun, and learning the software. It comes with web-based software that has some nice, pretty decent tools for setting up your artwork. It automatically will break apart. Here, I'll just show you the video. So the next thing I did was this one here. The next thing I did was I wanted to create Blinka. So the first thing I had to do was actually redraw Blinka as solid shapes that are separated body parts in solid color so that you can layer up the artwork using construction paper. So this is your kind of thicker cardstock that I picked up, trying to pick lots of different colors because Blinka's got different shades of purples and pinks and a little bit of blue. So just kind of picking those out. These are 12 by 12 inches again. So you can make some pretty decently large size. I see Blinka there in the background hiding. Just kind of picking out your different purples, which is really cool. So instead of having to color or print it on your 2D printer, you're just cutting out solid colored shapes and then sticking them together. So this just kind of shows you the workflow of like, okay, laying out the paper, making sure it's flat and lined up with the registration marks, and then loading it into the machine. It's all fairly easy to do. And then the software side will automatically separate your artwork if you have it set up properly, so that you can just have separate multiple mats, right? The mat is a lot like a 3D printer bed where they're swappable and you can have different materials on it. So now doing the black version here, this is kind of the back outline of Blinka. Loading into the machine. There's a little dial. There's only a couple buttons on this thing, which makes it really easy. So there's this big dial on there, and you basically tell what material you're cutting, and then depending on whatever you have selected, it'll apply different amounts of pressure to that material. So if you have something more custom, there's a little custom dial, then you can create your own material profile inside of their software. It's called Design Space. Again, it's web-based. Mm-hmm. And there you can define how many passes you want to cut, what blade you can use. So there's different blades you can set up. You can define what lines, what outlines you would like to be a cut or a drawing. Or a score. So you have those three different choices: cut, an outline, or the scoring. So cutting up Blinka here in those different shapes. There's a little bit of a tip here is to, when you're peeling off your parts, you want to have it laid flat, and then you peel the mat off so that it doesn't curl up. So those are just the basic things you learn when you first get the cutter, is how do I get the paper off without ripping it? How do I get the piece out without curling it and bending it? So there's a lot of new little things you learn when you get the machine, but fairly quick to cut and fairly quick to learn, and it's okay to fail because it's just paper. You have more. So it's great. And it takes very little time. I think it takes like 5 minutes to cut out Blinka. Using glue stick to assemble her, because why not? A purple glue stick works really well here. On a cutting mat, I like glue stick because you could just, any excess that you get on the work surface, you can just kind of rub off. So that works as well. I thought it was going to be a lot more difficult to align up the artwork, since I didn't think I'd be that crafty hands-on. But it ended up working well because the shapes are pretty solid. There's a little bit of room to kind of play with. I did mess up one. And then it got really detailed. So these very, very fine little details really make this thing pop, right? So the little tail there, for example. And then there might be a better way to do this, but for the details on Blinka's belly are cut out separate, or individual little strips. So it's a little bit time consuming to put it together, but man, the results are definitely well worth it, because the quality you get out of a cutting machine is just really, really clean.
It's like a vector artwork.
It is vector. I mean, that's what it is.
And the colors too, there's no differentiating them because it is a fully dyed piece of paper. Yeah,
and then I started doing different techniques. As you saw there, I was like, I just had the glue stick propped upright, and then I was just kind of like passing it through there instead of having to get my work surface all gluey. So putting that together was a nice learning exercise. I put 3 of them together in case one breaks or gets wet or something like that. So this is a long video. It's like 11 minutes long or so, but it really shows you the full workflow and process of cutting out your paper crafted thing. So here's the design software. I was saying, like, it separates it automatically for you in different colors depending on how you have it set up in the design space. You can define, and then we went outside and did some drone claws. Sorry, I forgot to edit this one out, but a little sneak peek. There was a lot of fun playing with this, trying to come up with different obstacles and different things to hold on to in the drone. Man, we were random today. This is like, oh, we were flying outside.
We just talked about the drone, yeah.
I know.
I mean, that's if you ever watch any of our snaps, that's pretty much how random work is. Yeah. Completely random.
Then we're eating tacos. It's like crazy.
We're working on like 5 things at once.
Oh man, so this is a weeding tool. It's called weeding, where you take out individual tiny, tiny little pieces. Look how tiny this is. I can't believe I did this. I don't recommend doing this, but I did it anyway, just to see if I could do it. It's almost therapeutic in a way. Every one of those little blue scales, whatever they're called, strips, were manually placed. I gotta find out a better way to do it, but because of the way the details are, I don't think there's a better way to do it.
Maybe registration marks or something, or some sort of outline.
If it was a t-shirt, it would be easier because the vinyl has a adhesive backing, and then you just lay the whole thing on. So making a t-shirt would be a lot easier.
In any case, it would be such a pain in the butt to try to cut out such detailed, delicate little tiny things that you're showing right here.
Yeah, this is where the work is. This is where the time is. It depends on how detailed and intricate your papercraft is, your character is, but I feel like if I was able to do it, anybody can do it, because I'm not really that crafty or hands-on.
Yeah. So my wife Brandy was able to quickly, very fast, like as soon as we were done with like the third thing, she was like making glass things, shirts. I think it comes up next year. You were making a mask. So it was very fun, very quick to do.
The Cricut.
And again, yes, it is sort of like a 4-letter word saying it's web-based, but guess what?
It's really good. They figured it out.
Think about Fusion 360. Think about Fusion 360. How quickly they're able to update their software like every other week, right?
Yeah.
So anything.
So this is cool. So I didn't design this. This is actually their Thingiverse, right? So they have a little marketplace where you can download things. And when you first buy one, they give you like free access to their unlimited access to their whatever. But this is cool. This is really showing how you can layer up different colors, and get a really nice thick kind of paper mask. And the kid was loving it, really. And again, having different colors is helpful. So I thought I'd do a little fun and make this little T-Rex mask. But hey, there's Blinka finalized. Obviously, maybe not obviously, but why did you cut her head off? It was so that I could maybe mount her head to a servo and have a little bit of articulation here. So that was really fun. Yeah.
So did you want to talk about these?
Absolutely, yeah. We're gonna.
Yeah. So with the craze of
let's show the actual stuff here. So. In terms of size, you can choose. It's infinitely scalable. It's an SVG, so you can pick whatever size you want. And really, the hard work was in redrawing her as a solid shape, so that her body parts can be cut out in solids. So that was really interesting, and we'll probably put together a guide on how to do that.
Actually, yeah, we've been told to put a guide.
Yeah, and they're like, can we do it? We'll probably be doing one a week or something like that in the coming weeks.
Next week. It's going to be all full. I think 2 months worth of nothing but Papercraft stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, with all the cardboard craze, of course, everybody's just jamming things into the cardboard box, but of course we're designers, so we like making nice simplified ways to actually attach all of your components. So Noah came up with this really nice templated design for holding a Circuit Playground Express, as well as battery component and the servo to make this super cute little Blinka.
Blinka in a box. This is so adorable. Yeah, so this is cool. So yeah, as Pedro was saying, let's go ahead and make a generic multi-purpose enclosure out of cardboard to house the Circuit Playground, a 3X AA battery, and a servo.
So how did you make this? Of course, with CAD software.
Yeah.
This is all built inside of Fusion 360.
That's right. It's parametric as well.
Yes.
So let's talk a little bit about the structure of it. So it's tab-based. It's all snap fit together or slotted. So there's tabs and there's slots. And there's no glue, so you can still pop this out. And it's really nice because when you're cutting, so this was all hand cut with a template from the Cricut. So I designed it and flattened it out as a paper template, and then cut it out, and then laid those templates on top of cardboard, and then cut these out by hand. So they're not perfect, but it comes out pretty nice because if you're following as close as you can, it works out pretty well. So this is the final box of it, and you'll notice that there's this big gap here, this big cutout, and that's just to allow Blinka's head to come out. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn it on. So the way to turn it on is I kind of pop this out. Yeah, there it is. There's the on button. Then I kind of flip it on. The Circuit Playground is secured with 4 machine screws and some really short standoffs. The custom PCB is actually back there, and I bent them at a right angle, so they're very, very flush. There's little notches all over the place to allow the wires to come in through, which is pretty nice. This is actually a box from Melt Inc., which is our filament supplier. Let's go ahead and just kind of play with it. So that's why the notch is there, to allow her to complete the illusion. you can even put this behind this area if you wanted to. Obviously, you could glue it in the front here as well. But what I really like about this is it's fully contained, right? Like it fits in your hand. All the batteries and all the wires are nicely contained. So it works out pretty well. Very, very simple movements, but we're working on some more complicated things too. But I'm just actuating it with the button here, these 2 buttons. So it works out really well. So let's go ahead and take a quick look at the CAD. So putting this together in Fusion 360 was really nice because you can visually see what your design looks like when you bring in all the components. So I have the micro servo, the battery, and of course the Circuit Playground there. All of these models are in our GitHub page, which we have linked below. We will have it linked below. So if you go to github.com, you can get all of our CAD drawings and use them in your projects. So one of the cool things that I want to do was set it up so that I can change the thickness of the material and automatically update those tabs, because the tabs are sort of dependent on the thickness of the material. So if you're using a thinner piece of cardboard or a different type of material, you can just punch it in and I can quickly export out a new template for it. Another thing I wanted to change was, of course, the overall width and height of the enclosure in case we wanted to add some more stuff or just have a bigger structure. That's parametric and easily modifiable. So another thing that I'm going to show is kind of working with joints and mechanisms in Fusion 360 to kind of get a visual idea of how to make mechanisms. So shout out to John Park. His latest guide on the Adafruit Learning System, I think it's public, is a crank slider mechanism using cardboard. So I wanted to give it a go, and to really kind of understand it, I wanted to model it and figure out how to get motion, sort of motion going here. So I did is I set up a component with sort of the three common components that you would have. So you have the crankshaft, you have the connecting rod, the piston, and the slider. We also have a rail so that the slider can slide on the rail. And then everything's attached to a servo horn on the servo. So you can do is you can right click and say model or animate the model, and it'll animate all the joints. And what's really cool is that you can zoom in and clearly see the angle of degrees that is being moved. So you can see how much degree is moving there, and you can set limits as well, so you don't go too far or too slow, or too far or too, yeah, whatever. Because servos don't go all the way unless it's a continuously rotating one. And then you can kind of pick individual joints and see what the relationship's like if you were to drive it through an individual joint or not, which is really nice. So I'm still learning a lot about motion linking and setting up joints properly inside of Fusion, but this is kind of like just a little demo to show you that it's definitely doable in Fusion, even with the most simplest models. You can really make some really cool motions and stuff. So just playing around with that, and we'll definitely use this in future projects. For now, we don't have anything planned other than just kind of getting our feet wet with the animated joints in Fusion 360. So it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, those are going to become helpful for
getting exact
all of our angles.
Yeah, getting exact angles of how this stuff's going to move and how much of a distance do we get. Mm-hmm. So yeah, the full cardboard design was exported out, flattened, like, you know, just laid down flat all the pieces individually, and then I projected them into a single sketch so that I could export that out as a DXF, bring that into the Cricut or the Cricut Design Studio software, and then cut it out. There it is, save as a DXF, then you can save it out. You do want to kind of reorient it. Some of the shapes aren't in the right order, so I'm using Illustrator, but you could use Inkscape to kind of reposition them. But this is what you end up with, is this outlines, and this can be used on a laser cutter, a Cricut cutter, or just print it out 2D paper and then cut it out yourself. So
yep, make templates out of that and then place it on foam core or something a lot more bigger.
Yeah, another thing is that, like, we could print this out in-house and actually include it into as a kit. So that's a really cool thing, because it's a little bit hard to do that with 3D printed parts. Yeah. A lot easier to do with laser cut templates. So you've been doing some cool stuff.
Yeah, so I did do, so John Park found a PDF of all of the templates that Labo is actually using for all of their cardboard kits. And one of the ones that caught my eye right from the start was this really cool paper, cardboard button with working little springs here. And a couple of weeks ago I showed how I hooked this up using just wires and some copper sticky tape to make this activate some sound on the Circuit Playground Express. So I wanted to see if I could recreate this with the templates that they provided and build my own. So I did have to draw every single one of these parts because they probably exported it out, and I don't know if there's a function to break all of your paths so they all become millions of little tiny lines. So I had to go in there and redraw every single one of these, but
traced it out, yeah.
I traced it out and everything works. It's a 1-to-1 scale. All of the components fit in with other Labo, like the slots to insert this in, and wasn't able to get the scoring tool in time for making this project, but we were able to use it on other cuts, and it did a very excellent job of being able to have all your folds ready to go. So I'm just going to do a very simple guide on providing the the template for it and instructions on how to make this, and then basically going to recreate Katney's the fruit drum sketch that she has for the Secret Playground. So I'm just going to make a box for that and then have these buttons inside there. I'm going to simplify the way that the connections are actually happening. I'm just going to have one copper tape down here that'll on the bottom of the box it'll touch
like a gamepad.
It's like a gamepad, yeah. So completely cardboard based button music synth something whatever box,
or maybe it'll turn a servo and open.
Or you can turn just whatever button that you want to do, change colors or whatever. So have different colors that we'll have for that. And this is a little bit more thicker cardstock that works too. This is just like a little bit thinner cardstock, and they both worked exceptionally well. So I'm happy with the design that they came up with for this. Still blows my mind when I play with it, having paper springs feedback. So super cool. So that'll be an additional project coming out for that. And then there's actually already one available. I don't think we put this in the notes, but you can quickly go to learn.adafruit.com. Our very own Daniel Wall has
I don't think it's public.
No, it is. Okay. I think it is. He released a super cool project with the Papercraft Blinka called the Snake Charmer Box. So we're using Adafruit box and the paper cutout of Blinka. I think it's button activated, and it uses the mechanism, I believe, that John worked on to have it open the box with the Blinka snake inside. So sort of like a snake in a box.
Oh, bigger box.
Yeah. So cool. So you can check that out and grab the PDF link for that. Still working on, as you can see, it's an older design there. So Bruce is still finalizing the design of how this should look. But I think having the belly on one side, the way that this is,
so you can see that the
close way to go for that. Yeah, so you can still see the cool detail that's on the belly on both sides. And of course, the mouth and all that. So definitely check that out. It's a simple cardboard box-based project, and I think we have like about 4 or 5 already up. So you've seen a lot more of these coming out.
Yep, and if you have a cutter machine, hold off to cut this, or maybe make the vectors yourself, because one of the things
converting everything over to
one of the things that we got to work on is converting all our artwork to work with laser cutters and CNC cutter machines like the Cricut. Cool. So I'm gonna take a break here and actually answer some questions now. I saw a couple of them come through. One from Malinsky is, have we played around with Slicer for Fusion 360? No, but I'd like to. It's basically a way to turn a 3D model into sliced cardboard pieces.
So sort of like
export out and flat pack it. Okay. Yeah, it's like the 123D Make software that was canceled but then added into
they rolled it
Fusion.
Into...
They rolled it into Fusion. Okay. So yeah, it's a plugin. I haven't tried it yet, but I will definitely get to get on that. There's actually some Autodesk actually uploaded designs to the Cricut Design Studio. So there's like a rocket ship and like a face. I showed you all those.
Yeah.
So it's meant for cutting with a chipboard, which is a thicker material.
We are testing different sizes of that. One of the ones that we did get in was not thin enough to cut, but I think we're getting a sample in tomorrow. So we will definitely it's on our radar to be able to cut cardboard, chipboard, something that's a little bit more thicker than cardstock.
Right. And then Steven has a comment here saying that there's also an open source Inkscape plugin for Silhouette, which is one of the other brands of cutters besides Cricut. And it has a GitHub, FabLab, Inkscape Silhouette. Cool. So you can search for that and see the plugin for Silhouette. Nice.
The Cricut does accept SVG files.
Yes, it accepts SVG files, PNG, and DXF.
Free level of Silhouette software does PNG, but not. Wait.
But not SVG. That's crazy.
Wait, you got to pay for different.
That's weird. But the Cricut, they support every file. They automatically convert raster images into vector images, which is really nice. You can clear. Like, we're gonna do a tutorial on it because it's quite a world. Like, oh man, I have to learn how to layer and think about how the things need to optimizing different shapes.
This is definitely bringing us back to our commercial art days.
Oh my gosh,
high school.
yes, it is.
So it's like, you thought you're gonna forget all that stuff. No, we gotta relearn it and redo it all again.
But yeah, it definitely accepts SVG files natively, nicely.
It does a really good job. Again, this is like something that we can give Grandma to, and she'll figure out how to cut things out.
So, yeah. Yep. Just look at the quality of this. It's still amazed at the quality of the cuts. It does really good circles, as you can see in the details here. There's even, the paper here is even velvet paper, so it's like fuzzy. It's actually really nice. So, I don't know. I'm proud of it. It took a while. Okay.
Go ahead and jump into this week's Community Makes? Shop Talk?
Yeah, so let's talk about Shop Talk. We've got some cool stuff we wanted to share with you guys. There is a very cool crowdsourced project going on right now. It's called We the Builders. They've done a couple different crowdsourced designs in the previous years. So it's crowdsourced 3D printed sculptures. So you can check out this project. I'll have it linked below. But the shipping deadline is for May 20th, so you can be a part of this. And
a little bit of background. This is a community effort to see if everybody can print a giant Rosie the Riveter. So everybody takes like a slice of a different block to make up this entire sculpture. And you can sign up and pick what sort of part of it that you want to print out.
I think it randomly assigns you a part. I don't know if you can pick the part. But they are asking for skin tones and some special shout outs to women makers. If you want to participate, you totally can. There's some t-shirts as well and things. Yeah, so this is actually going to be hosted by the Nation of Makers. It's happening in Santa Fe, New Mexico this June. So you can use some hashtags, We the Rosies or We the Builders, if you are printing one. This is, of course, 3D printing. This is taking place at Non-Com, and Adam Savage is actually going to be there helping assemble it and put it together. And there's also some cool things like special coupons, things from people like Matter Hackers and Delta Makers, so you can check that out. But yeah, we'll probably put together one part before. I think we still got some time here. So yeah, so it can be in any filament choice. But preferably
sort of like skin tone color.
Yeah, preferably a skin color, so like golds and browns and tans.
We're going to use wood fill because I think that's the only one.
It's the only one we have
285.
In 285.
That's close to the skin tone.
Very cool. I can't wait to see it. It's going to be fairly large.
And again, they've done other sculptures like this before. Then
Washington, Ben Franklin,
Edgar Allan Poe.
Yeah, and now Rosie. Very cool. Yeah, so check it out. I have a link in the description shortly after the show. Okay, I think we're ready for
that shop time. Looking at the notes here.
We got a time lapse. This week's time lapse was.
So I showed this off last week on the live demo of removing the breakaway supports, which we are now using for all of our models that require supports. And this is just a time lapse of it. Super useful. Lego light cover. It works very well. This breakaway supports anyway. So yeah, this is what we're using on anything that is has geometry where you can't really sacrifice inserting it into the bed to get rid of any bevels, because it is going to mess with the tolerance of the entire geometry. So yeah, works really good. Check it out.
The studs actually work out.
Studs work out. Nice little print here.
It's still on their light cover.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Cool.
Yeah. Check it out. It's on Thingiverse. Right here. This thing is a work in progress. No, that worked out well. This is a work in progress for 4 years now. It works out really well. A lot of makes and stuff. So shout out to Servo One on Thingiverse, who put this together and shared it with the community. Yeah, it's got a lot of makes too. So if you want to make your own Lego compatible light switch, you can print it out.
Of course, this
you
would
can
work
use supports.
Yeah,
you're not going to see the inside of it. It was just a test for us to see how well the material would work, the breakaway stuff. And if you want to see some live, check out last week's show where we take it apart live, take off the support material live.
I actually did a lot more faster during the live show than I did for the time lapse.
What happened there?
And I didn't poke myself.
Oh, okay. All right, cool. We got some community make real quick. We got one really special one, and then we'll end the show. Shout out to Liz Clark, who's in the chat room. She is working on some great projects. This week, or maybe last week, she released her motorized turntable. So she put together a video on that and released the files, and a learning guide, I think, is coming.
Yes, I did see it in the back end, so that is coming soon. Super cool way to get your end hero shots, nice little spinny shots of whatever project. product that you're working on. Fully parametric, you can switch out the table base for that, and she even made it work with 3 volt and 5 volt. Goes forward, backwards, and
to control the speed.
To control the speed,
what?
yeah.
That's awesome.
Definitely check that out.
Yeah, so check out our video and
soon.
Subscribe to her on YouTube. We got the links down below and here in the Thingiverse post as well. Very awesome work coming to a learning system near you. Awesome. Well, don't forget, guys, today's coupon code is ENDMIL if you want to pick up everything from the shop and support the company.
Yeah, printers, materials, of course, all of your fine electronics needed to complete your project.
Yay, we did it. Did the show. How do your feet feel?
Standing.
I got a lot of paper cuts, man. It hurts. They like sting from all the sweaty hands. Well, anyway, I hope you guys are doing well, hanging out, having fun. Yeah, no problem. Thank you for sharing. Liz? Anything else we want to talk about?
I think that's the show for this week.
We're going to end it earlier. Yeah. We'll be in the Discord chat room too.
Don't forget to tune in later tonight. We're going to be on a show and tell.
Yeah, what are we going to show? I don't even know.
Any of the number of things we showed here. So that'll be at 7:30 p.m. tonight, Eastern Standard Time. Join Phil Lamar and the rest of the Adafruit community. We're showing off all the things we're working on. And then stay tuned after that for 8 p.m.'s Ask an Engineer show. It's a full hour of Lamar and Phil.
That's right.
Talking about everything that's going on with Adafruit, all the new products, and of course all the secret things that Lamar's working on.
Super secret. And don't forget, tomorrow there's a special John Park edition. He's actually going on at 2, is it this week? 2 p.m.? Or is that next week?
It was 2 p.m. for that.
John, are you in the chat room? Well, you need to hit the, okay, so John made a new project.
That's not, I think it's just for the moderators.
I know, it's for us. But there's a new, he worked on a new project. It's an Adafruit IO project that allows us to
alert him when the mic is down.
Alert him when his audio is down, if it's down. It's not always down. Okay, let's not say that. But that is a really cool project because like we can just annoy him now and like spam him with like false alerts. Anyway, John Park, check it out. He's doing a lot of awesome builds live and talking about mechanisms and cardboard. He is leading the way for the AdaBox 08.
And don't forget, if you have not subscribed to AdaBox 08, definitely check that out. Perfect time to subscribe right now, because after a while we will close subscriptions to that.
Right.
So don't forget to be a part of that. You can get all of the goodies that come along with the AdaBox.
Yeah. Just read Kirby's comment. It's like, hope his audio doesn't go. Yeah, that's the whole point of the project, is hopefully we can help him out. And he gets this like nice red alert. Yeah, that'd be cool.
And I think that's everything in our notes. Don't forget to coupon code.
Coupon code. Hope everybody has a wonderful time with their projects. And don't forget the show and tells tonight. Tomorrow's John Park. I think that's it.
That's it. Follow us, Adafruit, on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all of the socials.
Yeah.
Follow us as well. See all the behind the scenes. And we'll see you guys next week.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. And
make a great day.
don't forget to make a great day.
See you guys.
Bye.